Fascinated to talk to you because you served in cabinet alongside Liz Truss, and you say that actually no one in cabinet other than you was more focused on social mobility.
I think if you'd always asked me in the run-up to Liz being Prime Minister, which person in cabinet alongside me was talking a lot about levelling up, a lot about social mobility, I genuinely would have always said it was Liz Truss, who was almost my wingman, who would back me up. It's as simple as that. I think the big challenge for Liz is she's taken over being Prime Minister in a really difficult time for our country. She's got a lot of near-term challenges, Dan, as you've just talked about on cost of living. But at the same time, she has to work out a way about how do we create the conditions for growth in the future. I think she's trying to set that out. I think she needs to do more. I think a lot of this is about education. I grew up in Rotherham. I think people who are in places where schools need to get better probably want to see what she's going to do to make sure their kids get a better start. But I think it's the final point I'll probably make is, you know, she gets into office and then literally that whole first week plus 10 days gets taken up by obviously the death of Queen Elizabeth II. Everybody's been in mourning for that. And so it's really only now that we're getting to see exactly what her plans are.
Oh my goodness, yeah, I mean, no one has had a more trying and challenging start as Prime Minister. It has been the definition, I guess, Justine, of historic. And I actually think she's done a really good job in very, very trying circumstances. And obviously very few people have given her credit for that. Can we talk about the tax cut agenda for a moment? Because, of course, Justine, there is an orthodoxy in this country. It's a Treasury orthodoxy. It's a left-wing media orthodoxy that tax cuts are innately bad because they benefit the rich more. Now, this week, she has fronted up, actually, and said, look, if that makes me unpopular, fine, but I'm pressing ahead with my agenda. It feels like we've finally got someone who is prepared to stick up publicly for conservative economic principles.
I think one thing about Liz Truss is she's always going to say what she thinks. And there'll be some people who agree with that, some people who don't. But at least you'll have a chance to make a view on it as a voter. Now, I think she is going to have to be careful, actually, to bring her parliamentary party along with that. She is going to have to make sure that she can explain to people in places like Rotherham and a lot of red wall Conservative seats why that agenda she's pursuing is the right one, not just for people who are better off in this country, but also for people who are really, really struggling. And that's why I said earlier, Dan, I think it's got to be a policy that's not just about setting a low tax agenda, which we know is how you create the conditions for a successful economy. She's also going to have to make sure she sets out how she can tackle some of those other things that aren't just about tax, that are the reasons why lots of people in our country don't feel they've got the chance to get the same opportunities as people getting a better start. And that is the big challenge for me long-term on productivity. The bottom line is too many people in our country are right when they think that where they start is where they tend to stay. We've got to break that cycle. And that's, I think, the biggest challenge for Liz Truss's government that she faces.